Hi, David. Hi, Joe. How you guys doing?
Brothers, everything's good. Good to see you all.
Nice.
I see, David, you're home from the Million Gig March. I'm sure it's only temporary, but how close are you to the millionth gig?
You'd have to ask Doc Kubka. Actually keeps track of the actual number of gigs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know the number. You know, sometimes it feels like a million a month. Yeah.
I hear you. So we've been working, I don't know, probably, David, I don't know, close to 2 years, maybe two
Yeah.
years. We started kicking around some ideas for another book.
Yep.
And, I wasn't sure exactly how it would come together and kind of the shape. These things always have their own twists and turns, and we kind of create on the fly, I think, a lot. But why don't you tell us about how this really came about? DG'z Notebook with
Yeah.
a Z on the end.
Well, it's based on my practice notebook, which I have here. The practice notebook, just a spiral thing with kind of a record of, practice sessions. And so it's kind of like the 2 year thing you talk about. That's kind of like when we did the Code of Funk. It took us 2 years to put all that together as
Yeah,
well.
right.
Because we had an idea there, that one, right. That took 2 years because we had the idea, but we didn't have the technology yet to make it happen.
Right.
Because I wanted to do loops and I wanted to do this other stuff, but nothing existed yet, that was readily available. We tried different things, and then finally we found Tony Verderosa, and he was able to do it exactly as we envisioned, right? So that was pretty cool, So this was sort of that sort of vibe too. I came to you with an idea. I didn't really know how it was going to come together. That was never in the initial thinking. Well, this is kind of cool. Let's try it, right? So we just started trying different stuff, and then COVID happened. So I had to try to become a video production studio as well as putting the book together, which was, I hate to say it, a nightmare. It was made putting the book together very difficult because I was trying to learn how to do video and all this other stuff. I got some great help. Jim Toscano, man, he was so great with it. I mean, he just gave me so much help. Now I got about 1 million cables, in my garage, thanks to him. The residual effect of all of this, I have 1 million cables, but when I finally, when I went to Italy last summer, that was the kind of the turning point because I struggled with this all the way up until then. That was June. And we went for our yearly sabbatical with family and all this stuff. We go every year. And so we ended up staying for the whole month of June. And I decided I was going to let everything go, which was pretty difficult to do. So I finally was able to get in vacation mode. And my brother-in-law, who's a drummer, we stay at his house, Franco Rossi, and he has a great studio in his place. So I started going in there just to practice and fool around. All of a sudden, the shape of the book appeared, and he and I would have breakfast together up in his kitchen, and we would talk. And he's a great guy. He's very smart, and he's a teacher. He writes books himself, and so we started talking about the ideas. I have ideas and things like that. And he always liked that stuff. We talk about it. I go down in the studio. All of a sudden, everything starts coming together. And I left with, the vacation with a PDF of 30 different things that were going to go into the book. And really, that was like, all of a sudden, it was there. And then I told you about it. And you said, go shoot video somewhere. That's what and I tell you, when you said that, it was such a relief because I was trying so hard to make the video thing happen, but it wasn't working in the way that I knew it should, the quality and, the whole thing. Right. And so we got Phil Hawkins, great guy here in the Bay Area, to do it. The guy's like some kind of an alien dude. He's a great musician. He teaches, Pro Tools, digital recording. He's a recording engineer, plays steel pans, all kind of percussion instruments. He's a videographer. I mean, the guy is like one-stop shopping, and he's just a cool guy. So ended up doing it at his studio, and everything just sort of fell together, pretty quickly.
I kind of tend to forget the painful parts of a project, but yes, I remember the many, many phone calls and hearing the frustration in your voice with video, and then you'd shoot something and send it, and it didn't look right, and it was not the right angle, and we were trying to do too much in a small space, and it was too much for you to control the cameras and play and lock in with a click track and all that, all the above. So
as they say, I was having a difficult pregnancy.
I second it, and I felt really bad. And, we were trying to figure out, it's sometimes you have to throw, a lot of things at the wall and see what sticks. And then, one day I was kind of saying, look, David's going to bail on this thing soon, because I can hear how frustrated he's getting trying to do the video, never mind write a book. And then I just said, you know what, there's got to be somebody with all the people he knows between, his world and Tower and all, everyone, we've got to find somebody and that was it. It was the turning point. And I do remember, I think you called once from Italy, and there was a whole relief in your voice, because you really found I don't want to say hook in terms of a commercial sense, but you found an anchor for the book. And it was really just, when you told me the idea, I said, it's so perfect. It's your notebook, and it's how you create. And it gives the reader and viewer a chance to look into your mind, and hopefully they'll take your ideas and they'll start their own notebooks. Ultimately that's the goal here. But, the stuff that you're playing, it's so quintessential you, that it really explains where I think, you can see where everything you've played over the last, 40 years, kind of, where it's coming from. There's no mystery, especially watching the videos, you can see it all, and all the influences and all the studying you've done with, Latin music and, and 6/8 and, all these different, shuffles. Anyway, I'm really proud to be the publisher of this thing. I'm really proud to be your friend. We've known each other, I don't know, how many years. I just dug up a picture, which we'll put on screen, that, I was just a kid. I must have been maybe 12. No, but this is like way back. This was a way back photo. I don't know if you've even ever seen it, but I'll post it. But, bringing Joe in, as he always does, he kind of is a great, helps expedite, and he's really organized and on top of all the moving parts, which I most of the time get very lost and confused. So he's the taskmaster, You guys
are a great team. I mean, it's really, really, really great. I learned about those three little dots that I like to use, called, which I didn't know that was called an ellipsis, right? And so I kind of used it in a kind of my stupid way to separate thoughts. I just put the three little dots instead of writing a complete sentence and worrying about grammar and all this stuff. I write this thing down and then the three little dots, right? And so I was all married to these three little dots because, oh man, I'm being creative, right? And of course, Joe, who understands what those three dots mean, right? Which I had no idea, right? He says, no, you can't do that. It doesn't mean that at all. And then he explained,
I don't know if I said it just like that. That's kind
of, well, you pretty much did.
Okay.
You know, it was a grammatical spanking
Oh, all right.
because I was insisting that I had to have these three dots, and you're going, no, you can't do that, man, because it means something else. And so I just said, okay, you're absolutely right. So I've been trying to wean myself off the three dot thing when I'm taking my own notes and stuff. It's very difficult.
You,
You know,
you know, it's funny because what we're talking about here is the copy editing and the act of writing, which everyone listening to this probably does. And you know, we were talking about in the pandemic. You know, you were trying to do all that video stuff because we had no choice. Nobody was going to other people's places to be exposed to each other.
correct, correct.
Not quite like that, but in working with Hudson, you know, we're small, we're lean and mean. You know, we get in, we get out quick. It's all hands on deck. So when I first started working as an author back in the day, I remember getting from a professional copy editor like a redlined, you know, proof of stuff that I had written, and I was like, oh wait a minute, I got A's in English, like now I feel like I'm illiterate here, and I would go through and so just yeah, I mean it's funny that the different things we're drummers, but when it comes to organizing a project like this, there are so many other aspects that are, you know, they're related to drumming, but they're not drumming. And that's what putting a book together, or, you know, back in the day, a Hudson DVD, but now a Hudson book, is it requires a lot of organization and a lot of thinking. And this particular project, just the insight, you know, I guess the grand sort of like the big picture is DG'z Notebook, your approach to your own growth, your approach to your own practice, and how you gather things in the notebook and they grow and lead you into new avenues of developing your sound and your ideas.
Yes.
And that as the big picture is really interesting to see how you do that. But the content of the book, of course, is well, okay, that's your grand. This is how I approach practice. But what are you practicing? And what are you practicing? What I found really great about this book was, hopefully many of the people watching are familiar with Future Sounds, the funky beat, code of funk, and your approach and your way of doing things. And in this book, you've kind of taken some of those ideas that you set out so well and added a new twist to them. So in the Future Sounds thing, you actually have a couple of, you know, my greatest hits, like Future Sounds things converted from 16th to triplets. And one thing that I found really intriguing is in Future Sounds, you have things permutated by a 16th note going back to a refrain. And here now, right in the beginning of the book, you've introduced the idea of you don't go back to the refrain, you just find a turnaround that lasts one beat. And now you're on a different part of the beat, which makes it like way more challenging to know where you are on the one.
Yeah.
So, you know, I didn't know if you wanted to elaborate on it. I found those concepts pretty interesting.
Well, you know, that kind of stuff, that just kind of happened along the way. I mean, as I was trying to figure out ways to understand what I was getting into, I wanted to have a deeper understanding of it. All of a sudden, these ideas, that things just appear, you know. So, you know, the initial concept of the book was the way that it turned out was I wanted it to be like modern drummer articles that I had done, all standalone stuff, right? It's all connected, you know, technically, of course, and conceptually, but each one is a different thing, a different topic, a different, you know, just a standalone lesson. And so that was what kind of how the book ended up being, right? And so the source material became things in my practice notebook, which is a practice journal. And I've talked about this before, you know, the journaling in, you know, building your life is really important, you know, writing down your ideas, like almost like a diary kind of, right? But that helps to bring the ideas to life, those things that you're thinking about. Well, this is the same idea, but this is musical ideas. Like, here's a Tower of Power song called Can't You See? We recorded this in 1972, something like that. And we've played it on and off for years. We'll do it for a period of months and then put it away. And every time we come back to it, it changes a little bit. We change the arrangement. We kind of change conceptually. We change tempo. We do all kinds of different little things to it to just kind of create a different way to do the songs. Just like, I guess, in the same way Thelonious Monk would do his songs differently all the time. You know, it's kind of like that sort of vibe, right? So after I had my crazy accident a few years ago, my coordination stuff really changed. My brain changed, and, you know, I lost some stuff. And so I had to kind of regain it and revisit things. And so I changed my setup, you know, the configuration of my drum set, which really helped where my brain was at the moment. And so that kind of changed my creative thing too. You know, it just everything went sort of in a different direction, a different way. So this Can't You See, this is labeled, this is from January 19th of this last year. This is Can't You See 2022. So this is kind of the way that I'm approaching playing the song at the moment. That kind of thing. It's just evolves, right? And so the lessons in the book, DG'z Notebook, came from this kind of idea, my practice sessions. I write things down that I get into, things that really hit my ear, and I date it. Here's, what's this one? This is February 26th. There's some permutation stuff in there and some crazy little ideas, right? Here's, oh, this is like this week. This is really cool. So this is this week. I was playing along with Marcus Miller, and he has a song called High Life. He has a CD called Aphrodisia, and he has all these really cool, you know, kind of African inspired, you know, songs. And so I was just fooling around playing along with one of them. And I took that exercise that's in the book, or that study that's in the notebook called The Funky Foot, and I was playing it along with that. And it was kind of cool. It just sounded good, you know, I don't know. And so here's another one. This is on the 25th, and this was playing along with Richard Bona's track called Joko Joko, which comes from all the Cuban stuff that he did. And you can find it on YouTube, but it's just killer, man. And you can come up with so many different things. So some of these things that are in the notebook, I'll just play them over and over and over again. And I play it with different music. And every time I play it with different music, it makes me think of it in a different way. I'll try permutating it in a different way. And so maybe I'll play through the song, and I'll just use the song as like a kind of a metronome and a backdrop. And I don't even worry about an arrangement. I'll just play through a whole bunch of these grooves as the track is going. And so I can hear how things sound in a musical context. And it really changes everything. I mean, it's really, some of the changes in the grooves are really dramatic when you hear it in a musical context. It's really amazing how it works. And so creatively, it just takes everything in all these different unexpected sort of directions, you know.
This jam with PME is actually about that, right?
Yeah, that came from, I was in the basement at my brother-in-law's house in Italy, and I was playing along with Peter Michael Escovedo's song, that Ghetto Mambo song, which is really cool. And so I was just using it as a backdrop and started playing along with something that came from the Code of Funk, and it turned into that.
You know, there's a lot. I just want to interrupt for a second, you know, to unpack in what you just said, David. First, I think it's amazing, and I've talked about this with some of our mutual friends like Michael Shreve and Mike Clark, that you still practice and you still have a passion to learn, and as many years as you've been playing and what you've been through in the last, 5 years of your life, you still you're so dedicated and devoted to the instrument that it really is inspiring. So I just wanted to say that, and, for people that are watching to really think about that. I mean, that's a pretty astounding, thing. I mean, you think about an athlete, they put in their 10,000 hours, and they're in the batting cage all year round, practicing their swing. But, by the time they get to be 40, they're pretty much done. They'll coach, or maybe they'll just sit on the beach somewhere, or they'll, go into, selling sneakers or something. I don't know. But you know what I mean? Your life and career and the arc of your musical career, it just keeps going. And it's just an astounding thing. So I just wanted to make a point of.
No, I appreciate you
people
saying
think
that. I
about
mean,
it.
I don't think that age really has to factor into what we do, the way that people kind of think about age, It's like, okay, so I'm 75 years old, which I can't even believe that happened. How did that happen? And so, you're 75, but you still have creative energy. You still want to make something happen. Age doesn't have to be like where, people look at me and they go, oh, you're 75, you're still doing that, you're still doing this. What am I supposed to be like, sitting on the edge of the bed staring at the floor, or, drooling or something, I mean, you're as old as you think you are. Yes, your body, the external part ages, but I have to say internally, it doesn't feel that way at all. I feel like I did even better than years and years ago creatively. I have so many ideas and so many different things, you know. Plus this shit is just fun. I mean, what can I say, man? It's challenging, it takes you to the edge of what you are, right?
Yeah.
Which you should never be afraid to do that, and that stops people, the fear of going into a place where in your life where you are exposed. It's either going to work or it's not going to work, right? And the beauty of the Million Gig March is that we all kind of think that way. Tower environment, is like that. We're a self-policing unit. We want to play good all the time. It's a very creative, super creative situation. We have, guys in every chair that are just really, really creative people, but creative in the way that contributes to a team creativity, So they're very gifted individually, but what they do when they are part of a team is astounding. The collective thing that happens, And so my music life is a product of that. Tower Power is like kind of like this experimental lab where everybody gets to be themselves. Nobody tells you what to do. If you fit there, you can stay there as long as you want, and you can turn it into whatever you want. Every chair is like that. The guy that's taken Rocco's place, Rocco passed away. So Mark Van Vakenigen, the guy that's playing bass now, he's just making it his own, He understands conceptually what's going on. He knows kind of what he's supposed to do. And then he's just turning up the screws, man. I mean, he's like made it his own spot, and it's beautiful,
Yeah.
It's cool. And that's kind of what the Tower Power thing is, it's everybody's learning all the time. It's just a cool environment. I don't know how to describe it, and I'm a product of that,
Well, I don't think everybody would take that to, how you continually push yourself to learn, with these concepts that are in the book. Like, practicing. I mean, plenty of people are in long-time bands touring, and they just kind of settle into the gig, and, the shedding period is over. They just say, I play how I play, and that's that. And I know from, our conversations and just talking to tons of drummers that you're a huge inspiration in that you continue that growth process of saying, "Hey, I'm not done yet here. I can still learn. And I enjoy the process of practice." It's like at some point, I think, and this is something I aspire to, I think I fall short all the time, is that, practice is like a fulfilling part of life if you let it be,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely so.
That's
I
what I
love
love
it.
about you.
I think it's a cool thing, to have like it's like your touchstone sort of, you get in and you just connect with, like you said, Rob, you go in the batting cage. I mean, it's like that. You just take swings every day. And that's really, if you want to show up on your gig, you just like, you show up, you put in the reps, you do the thing, I was watching 3 cool videos recently. Yesterday I was watching a drum channel thing with Terry Bozzio and Thomas Lang and Jimmy Keever. I believe that's his name.
Keegan? Is it Keegan?
Keegan.
Yeah.
Jimmy Keegan. I'd never met him before, but he's
Yeah.
a pal of Thomas Lang.
Great guy, great guy.
And they were like analyzing some of Terry's stuff, and they're talking about Terry's talking about his influence, Tony Williams' influence, and he's like, this is Missing Persons, and so he's just going off on Missing Persons. It's really, really great. And he's talking about his inspiration of Tony Williams. So I texted him. I said, bro, this is, I hear what you're saying about Tony Williams, but when I hear you, I don't hear anybody but you. And, and I find that really inspirational, to me. Listening to somebody like him and those guys, they're not derivative. They're their own guys. When I hear them, I don't hear anybody else,
Yeah.
Then I was listening to, this morning, I was listening to that I love this singer, Alan Stone. And you listen to somebody like him, it's just such a beautiful voice. And it's so unique. I don't hear anybody else in him. I don't compare him to anybody. He's his own kind of thing. It's so beautiful, and I find inspiration. I'm inspired by all of that stuff. I also watched today a great clip of Randy Waldman's Superheroes record with Gadd and Vinnie Colaiuta exchanging drum solos on Underdog.
Yeah, it's a great clip.
Transcription underneath, right? I mean, come on. It's so cool,
Yeah.
And when you see those guys play, you're looking at lots of hard work to be able to do that stuff.
Yeah, people.
And look how old those guys are. They should be drilling. They should have their walkers parked next to their, their drum sets.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
The greats always make it look effortless.
Yeah.
And what people tend to not think about, because you're watching a great, you're excited, blown away, whatever the word is, into what they're doing. You don't think about what went into it. Like you just said, Vinny is Vinny because he put in an ungodly amount of time. I remember him when he was really young. He'd walk around the NAMM show, or you'd see him with sticks in his hand, like Jim Chapin. Jimmy was doing it at 75. And Vinny was doing it when he was 25. It's the same commitment, like you. It's I don't know that I've ever seen you, playing paradiddles on your knee at the NAMM booth, but
I haven't.
We've talked plenty. I want to. This is getting a little long, and I want to keep you fine gentlemen. I know David's got to get back to signing some book covers for us for this project, but I've recently, very recently, unpacked a box that I had in storage, and I found a photo that I thought was really special, and we'll scan it so people can really see it. But here, Dave, what are your comments about this one?
Oh, check it out. That's NAMM show.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Zig and Earl Palmer and Jim Keltner.
Yeah.
Oh, check that out. Yeah, I have that photo.
Oh yeah, I thought we sent it to you a long time ago.
Yeah, that's a really great one, man. Look at those guys, man.
Yeah.
They're all such unique guys, man. Those three,
There's a lot of music in this, right? in the walls of this frame here.
I think like Keltner, doing the, Ry Cooter, Holly, that track Hollywood, it's just nasty and funky. And then Earl, when I met Earl, he was he knew all about Tower of Power and all this other stuff. I was blown away, man. He just knew what everybody was doing, and he was so welcoming and open to everybody, you know. And then Zig is like another animal altogether. You know, I idolize that guy, man. I listened to him so much, you know, in the early Tower days, you know, and brilliant Sissy Strut and all the, you know, Here Comes Demeter Man and all those really great things that he did. You know, nobody does that stuff. I mean, come on, that's like standalone. Those three guys, that's like Mount Rushmore.
That is a Mount Rushmore of drummers for sure. I mean, I remember I kicked myself, you know, every few weeks, you know, for the last 20 years of not recording some of those dinners we had with everyone sitting around and talking about music and their recording, you know, whatever. It was just unbelievable. I felt so honored to be, you know, a fly on the wall really in those, you know, in those dinners and, you know, those hangs that we would have that went into the wee hours. It was just unbelievable. But anyway,
you know, to be a part of this, man, you know, this whole drumming deal, you know, it's really a privilege, man. I mean, it's such a deep tradition, you know, an incredibly rich tradition.
Absolutely.
And you know, I think that all the guys that we know, you know, they're all respecters of that tradition, you know, and respect, you know, the line that we all come from, you know.
I always say it's the best fraternity in the world, you know, man. And it really is. And you know, both of you guys know when you travel, whether it's, you know, in the US or Europe, anywhere in the world, you know, you run into some drummers and you're going to have a good time. And by the end of the night, you're going to have a big hug. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, it's always a hug fest. So anyway,
absolutely.
Any closing, anything that you want to touch on that we didn't mention about the book? I love the name of it. I just want to, and I'm looking at it to make sure I get it completely right. This, especially the subtitle, Making of DG'z Notebook, My Path to the Groove, Ideas from a Beat Collector. I love that.
That's true.
Ideas from a Beat Collector. So, yeah, it's been a pleasure, Dave, and a real honor. And I take the responsibility of presenting your work in a very serious way, you know. And I've always tried to give 110% because I really respect it, and I know it's going to be around a lot longer than we are. So we better do it damn right, you know.
Hey, we got a good team here, you know. I mean, there's, you know, we got a lot of work ahead of us, a lot of things, a lot of projects to do yet. You know,
get busy. Then let's stop now, and I want you to get back to work.
I got a couple in the can here, so you know, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate it as always. Look forward to seeing you where we can sit down and have a little cup of good coffee or a glass of wine. And
absolutely.
And Joe, I'll talk to you soon. And thanks again for your time and a great job as always. It's a pleasure working with you, Joe. As always, for many years.
I'm honored and humbled to be part of the team for sure.
All right, fellas, brothers forever.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Peace out.